Hello, sweet friends. Welcome back. We are talking about something that is incredibly foundational. And in my experience, a lot of people don't fully understand the science behind it. And so don't give it the credence that it deserves. So, we're talking about energy today. And you may have heard a phrase like everything is energy, but what we're going to dive into today is what that actually means, and more importantly, why it matters for you as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as a human. And the reason why is because once you start to understand energy, you can better start to understand yourself. And one of my main goals here on this podcast is to help you all develop a higher level of self mastery. And this is all part of that, you understanding yourself, your thoughts, and your emotions, which literally carry a frequency. We're going to dive into that in a little bit. Will help you better understand yourself. It'll help you understand why you fall into flow states, why, when you are in a flow state, other people can feel it, and why, when you're feeling stuck or contracted, people can feel that too. So, today, what we're going to talk about is what is meant by energy and what is meant by everything is energy, how energy shows up for us in our body, our mind, and our emotions, and what causes energy to get stuck. And then, of course, most importantly, how to get our energy moving again so that you can always be showing up from a place of intention, of clarity, and of confidence instead of the unintentional energy that we don't want to be in, insecurity, fear, stress. So let's dive in. Okay, so what is meant by everything is energy? So, at the most fundamental level of everything that exists in the universe, absolutely everything, everything is made up of an atom. The very fundamental element of everything that exists is called an atom. Okay. So the atom itself has a tiny little thing inside of it called a nucleus. Now, the nucleus has inside of the nucleus is the proton and the neutron. Outside of the nucleus is an electron. So electron emits electric energy, negative energy. Protons emit positive energy. And those electrons are zooming around the nucleus. They're going around and around and around. So in quantum physics, what we've learned is that even though things that we look at look solid, like my desk looks solid, my computer looks solid, the microphone I'm speaking into, my body looks solid, all of it is made up of an atom. And those atoms, because they have that center nucleus and everything else around it is that electron circulating, that atom is about 99.9% space. It's just space. The rest of it, again, is the energy that's vibrating at specific frequencies. So, a very good example that I once heard is think about a dime, the tiny little dime in the center of a very humongous cathedral. Now, the dime in that center is the nucleus. It's the nucleus of the atom. And that space around it is the space that the electrons need to circulate around the nucleus. So if you think about it like that, that's exactly what is happening to us. So we are all made up of atoms, and the atoms are 99.9% space. The rest of it is all energy, electrons moving at different frequencies, vibrating at different frequencies. So whether you are thinking about your thoughts or your emotions or your body or your business or your leadership or your career, everything carries an energetic frequency. Okay, so when we think about this, I'm going to get a little bit more practical here, and I'm going to talk to you about how this relates to our human body. So, our heart and our brain also emit electricity. So do our muscles. So, our body emits electricity. Now, the electricity of the brain is measured through what we call an EEG, electroencephalogram. The EEG measures our brain cells. It measures the electricity, the electrical impulses of our brain cells. So, and it has different frequencies that it'll measure. It'll measure different frequencies like beta waves, which beta waves are what we are experiencing when we're in fear or stress. Our brain is activated at this higher frequency. Or when we have these deep, calm, or meditative states, we can get ourselves into frequencies that are much more calm, alpha, theta, delta waves. So that is the electricity in our brain, literally measured by EEGs. It's how we know if somebody is having a seizure, for example. We put these little monitors on their brain and we measure the electrical impulses. The heart also produces a very large electromagnetic field. Okay, so electromagnetic field is essentially what everything emits. Everything that has electricity will emit an electromagnetic field. Now, the heart produces, because the heart is also electricity, we measure the heart's electricity with an EKG, an electrocardiogram. So many of you have heard of EKGs. It's how we know if people are having heart attacks and many other things. But the heart produces the largest electromagnetic field in the human body. It's up to 100 times stronger than the brain's electric field. And according to the Heart Math Institute, your heart's energy, or the electromagnetic field of your heart, it can be measured up to 3 feet outside of your body. So just think about that. You are walking around and 3 feet all the way around you, circumferentially around you, your electromagnetic field can be measured, which is very, 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 very wild and super, super cool. And what we know is when you are in a coherent state, so if you're feeling feelings like compassion or kindness, that electromagnetic field gets measured in a very specific way. So we can not just measure your electromagnetic field, we can measure the coherence of your electromagnetic field, which is fascinating. Okay, so yes, the physical organs in our body are electricity. Makes sense. I think we all understand that, science behind that. But guess what else? Our emotions also can get measured with electricity and frequency. So our emotions are literally just energy. It's just an energetic impulse moving through our body. So an emotion is literally an energy, energy in motion. That's kind of silly, but it's true. And it's an easy way to remember it. Emotions are essentially energy that should move through you. It's an energy in motion. And Dr. David Hawkins published this book called Power versus Force, which created a map of consciousness that measures our emotional states in terms of frequency. So in terms of hertz. So hertz is frequency per second. It's how it's vibrating per second. And what we know is that there's certain emotions that vibrate at lower frequencies versus certain emotions that vibrate at higher frequencies. So low vibrational emotions, low vibe states. So when you hear someone say something like, oh, they're low vibe or high vibe, a low vibe state could be something like shame and guilt, which is measured at like 20 to 30 hertz. And high vibe emotions are things like love, which is measured at like 500 hertz. And what I think is so fascinating is I used to believe that love was the highest vibrational emotion that we could experience. But what we have come to understand based on a lot of the science that's been done behind this is that actually the feeling of joy, happiness, so joy and peace vibrate higher than love. It vibrates at 540 hertz. So when you are operating at a higher frequency, you feel expansive, you feel light, and that creates creativity and a sense of openness and magnetism. I talked about magnetic leaders on my last episode in episode 12. So it creates magnetism. Whereas when you're vibrating at a lower frequency state, you literally feel dense, you feel heavy, you feel restricted. It's like you're pushing through mud versus feeling light and open. So that's us thinking through energy and emotion. So now let's talk about what happens with our emotions or our energy when our energy feels stuck. So because we are energy and because emotions are literally energy in motion, emotions can get stuck in the body. Now, energy can stagnate, especially when we suppress emotions or we overthink or we are in these thought loops that are not supporting us, or we're operating in a sense of like chronic stress, so survival mode for too long. So I want you to think of energy kind of like water. Water should flow to be healthy, right? So we know flowing rivers are probably pretty clean and healthy because they're flowing down the river. But when water gets stuck, it can become stagnant and toxic. Same thing with energy. When the energy gets stuck, when it gets blocked, it can become stagnant and even toxic. Now, this is really important. Let's talk about what causes energy to get stuck. I'm going to give you 4 main reasons. Number 1, I already mentioned it, which is unprocessed emotions. I think this is really, really, really important because oftentimes Something tends to happen to us and we think we should just move on and not deal with it. Why deal with it? Sadness is such a waste of time. Why would I sit there? Or I don't want to feel grief, or especially rage. I used to really push against feeling rage. But emotions themselves, again, emotions are not problems. Emotions are just messengers. They're here to share something with us. And when we refuse to be with the emotion, when we don't process the emotional energy has nowhere to go. And if it has nowhere to go, it's not like it's just going to walk away. It gets stored in our body. So many times I have taken care of patients in the emergency department with chronic back pain, and we can't find a cause to it. And then I go deep into what they've experienced in their life and a ton of trauma or a ton of other unprocessed emotions that they haven't felt. Same thing with chronic abdominal pain or chronic chest pain. All of these things that we probably don't, we do $1 million workup, we don't have an answer, might be stuck energy that needs to move. And there's other reasons that our energy can get stuck. So one is unprocessed emotions, also trauma. So of course, if we experience some sort of trauma and we don't process the trauma, it's going to get stuck. If we experience stress, so I put trauma and stress together because causing acute stress, so stress that happens once and we don't process that, but then stress that happens chronically over and over and over causes a dysregulated nervous system, which causes our body over time to get stuck in our sort of fight or flight state, which makes it really hard for us to access clarity or calm because we're constantly stuck in this stuck energy. What else? Negative thought loops. So thoughts themselves also carry energy. So repeating thoughts like, I'm not good enough, or I don't have what it takes, or I don't belong here, all of that reinforces low vibrational states. And then lastly, what I call energetic drain. These are environments or relationships that are draining our energy. So when we don't create boundaries, for example, when we feel overextended, all of that drains our energy. So all of these things here will cause our energy to either be drained or be stuck. So in real life, what can this look like? It feels like you constantly feeling tired, even though you've rested. Like you had a great night's sleep, but you just wake up and you feel so exhausted. In fact, there's three main criteria to diagnose burnout. And one of the criteria is emotional exhaustion. There's exhaustion. It could be physical or emotional, but feeling exhausted. No matter what you do, you just feel so tired. In real life, another way that this can look is the inability to feel happiness or to feel joy. Even though you keep experiencing all these successes, you have to go and chase the next success because nothing ever feels good enough. You have this inability to feel joy that comes from stuck energy that has not moved, that hasn't been processed. And procrastination or creative blocks, all of that is stuck energy that usually is energy that just needs to move. Okay, so you all know now what is meant by everything is energy. You understand that our emotions also carry an energetic charge, and that if we're not paying attention to our energy and helping it consistently move through our body, it will get stuck in our body and it becomes really heavy in our body. It's like a backpack that you have on with a ton of rocks. Every time you don't process something, more rocks in that backpack. And eventually, what we need to do is we need to get that energy unstuck. And when we get that energy unstuck, it's fantastic because it also raises our vibrational frequency. When we can move the energy, it helps us raise our vibrational frequency. So, I want to give you a few evidence based strategies that will support you in moving energy and attuning your energy in different states, different ways. The first is breath. Now, it's so fascinating. Before we had all of these complexes and pharmaceuticals, there was three very basic fundamental medicines. I think about them as three very basic fundamental medicines: the breath, water, and sleeping. Breathing, sleeping, drinking water. It keeps you alive, right? Those three things can keep you alive, but they also help your energy feel really healthy. So the breath is medicine. When you can consciously breathe, that by itself moves the stored energy. So oftentimes I teach a lot of my clients to, oh, you're feeling something in your body. You don't know what it is. Be with it for a second. Put your hands over it. Take a deep breath. Breathe into what you're feeling in your body and breathe out. Because that breath work by itself creates this sense of movement and it helps you regulate your nervous system and it increases the flow of energy moving through you. I think I talked about this. I did in episode 11 when I talked about regulating your nervous system. I talked about the vagus nerve. So, one big reason breath work works so well is because when you take long, deep breaths, especially when you stimulate your belly or your diaphragm, it stimulates the vagus nerve, which activates our parasympathetic nervous system, which is essentially our relaxation phase of our body. So, it helps us relax, calm down, and move energy at the same time. It's pretty powerful stuff. The other one is water. So I mentioned the fundamental medicines that we have, right? Breath and water. Water, I think of as, again, one of the very fundamental medicines that exist. And water is fascinating because if you are a person that likes baths like me and you wonder, why is it that I feel so good after a bath? Because baths, showers, they help move energy. It's also the reason why so many people have all these great ideas when they're in the shower. Why do I get all these great ideas when I'm in the shower? It's because your energy is moving. Why is it that energy moves? Because water conducts electricity. We had I live in Atlanta now, and we had this big snow rainstorm last night, and I love summer storms. I think they're so beautiful. We didn't have them in California, so I appreciate them so much here, and a ton of electricity was coming through. There was like lightning and thunder, and you're not supposed to take showers when there's lightning outside because water conducts electricity. And so water can be very, very healing when your energy is stuck, but not just because it conducts electricity. There's more. The effect of water is multifactorial. So for one, it involves how your nervous system is regulated. So water helps your nervous system reset because water stimulates your vagus nerve. Again, I mentioned vagus nerve a bit ago with your parasympathetic nervous system. So water, especially if you're someone that does cold plunges, which I don't do, I know how like physiologically how good they are for me, but I just don't like them, so I don't do them. But water stimulates the vagus nerve, which can help you calm your sympathetic nervous system. So that's the fight or flight response, and activates your relaxation response. So that by itself will help move the energy. So, water, especially if you are taking a warm bath, which is my jam. I love hot tubs, I love warm baths. The physical sensation of water on your skin creates this tactile stimulation, which causes your muscles to relax and improves circulation. And when circulation has been improved, things are moving again, and it releases anything that's stored stress, stored energy. It's an incredible, that's why your nervous system gets regulated when you're in water. And why you can feel like all of a sudden you feel better when you get out of a shower or get out of a bath. The other thing that's so fascinating, especially about baths, is the hydrostatic pressure and kind of the deep pressure touch. So when you're immersed in water, like in a bath, it offers this gentle, consistent pressure across your body, which can regulate your sensory system. It's kind of how weighted blankets work. Whenever we're underneath the weighted blanket, why it feels so good and why some of us sleep so much better under the weighted blanket. It's because it's regulating our sensory system. So water, so many reasons why water is fantastic. So I will tell you, if you feeling like your energy is stuck, a shower or a nice hot bath. If you put salt in the bath, it's also very grounding because salt comes from the earth. Salt is a mineral, comes from the earth. Okay, so one other thing that I think is really helpful when your energy is stuck is expressing your energy, expressing by word or by journaling. So I often do this. I have a journaling practice. I journal every morning. But if you've ever noticed why something feels really good when after you like speak it out or talk with somebody you trust or somebody you love, when after you feel better after you talk something out, it's because energy is literally moving when you are speaking. So the energy will move through you, either written, if you write it down in a journal, or if you speak it out loud. So don't underestimate the release of power when you are honestly expressing yourself. So this is why it's really important to have a community or people around you that you can trust or that you can that love you, that you feel safe talking to, or a coach or a therapist, because speaking this out loud helps the energy move. It helps you from having that energy be stuck to moving it out loud. It works also if you journal. All right. And the last one I'm going to give you, I'm going to give you two more actually. This next one, I absolutely love, and it's just nature. It's being out in nature. And if you can be barefoot, that's even better. The reason why is this: Mother Earth literally has a frequency. It's called the Schumann resonance. It's the pulse that the Earth is measured at. It's 7.83 hertz. So if you've ever heard of this concept of grounding, oh, I need to get grounded, I need to ground myself, or I'm going to walk outside and ground myself. When you walk outside barefoot, you again you're a walking electricity, right? You emit an electromagnetic field. So you're walking electricity. Just the way we ground wires by having one wire go down to the earth, when you walk outside and your feet physically touch the ground without shoes on, it's better without shoes on, just touching the soil or the trees resets your frequency because you are grounding yourself with Schumann resonance, with the healing frequency of the earth. It's pretty powerful. So that's being in nature, grounding yourself out of nature, just sitting out there, walking out on your grass. It's really, really effective. And then the last one I'll just share is co-regulation. I kind of mentioned this one a second ago when I said being with someone that you can talk to. But if you have relationships, friends, good community around you, you can co-regulate with your community. The reason why that works is because if you are feeling safe or around someone else that's emitting a frequency that's making you feel safe, you will then start to feel in that frequency. That's how mirror neurons work, or how our brains actually co-regulate with somebody else. So grounded people can help you rewire and recalibrate your nervous system. So this does not work if the community is very traumatic or it's causing trauma to you. So if it's not a safe community, it's not going to work. This only works with safe communities. Okay, so let's go on here. I talked to you about that energy gets stuck and how to get the energy unstuck. And I'm going to just end with a few things here. Why does it matter for you to know this? Why does it matter for you to practice these things? So if you're not already a believer, I'm just going to leave it at this. Your energetic signature, your energy, which again is emitted around you by, at least your heart frequency 3 feet all the way around you, that is what people feel. That is what people sense before you even speak a word. The second you walk into a room, people can feel your vibration, your frequency. And if you are someone that, if you're a leader, if you are managing teams, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're serving people, people will constantly calibrate to your frequency. So if you walk into a room and you're in a low vibe state, you are going to bring the room to a low vibe state. If you walk into the room and you're in a high vibe state, you will take the room to a high vibe state. So when you are grounded, when you are inspired, when you are in integrity, people around you will feel that. Your team will feel that. The people that you serve will feel that. Your family will feel your grounded state. And you are going to attract what you are, who you are, the way you are showing up. You're going to attract who you are. So if your energy is scattered, if your energy is anxious, if you're constantly doubting yourself, that's often who you'll draw in. In fact, just as an example, I remember when I first started my business as an entrepreneur many, many years ago. And at that time, I was really insecure. I didn't know what I was doing. I was so afraid I was going to fail. I was creating from a sense of a dysregulated nervous system, from anxiety and from fear. And it was reflected by my first clients that I was drawing in. They were also really afraid and all of those things. And, now many years later, now where I am with the experience that I have, and also doing a lot of energetic hygiene, making sure that I'm managing my energy, that I'm showing up with a lot of love, with clarity, with purpose. Those are the clients that I bring in now, people that want that level of support. So I am also bringing in higher vibrational clients. So you will magnetize collaborators, clients, friends, opportunities that match the frequency that you are in. Okay, so that is why it matters. That's why it matters for you to understand that you have a signature and it's your energy. Before you speak a word, people will be sensing that. And that's really important. So as we close here, I want to remind you, you're not just a brain in a body. You are a walking, feeling, vibrational field of energy. And when you take ownership of that field, when you tune it, when you clear it, when you elevate it, you don't just do better work, you then become the kind of person that others naturally trust. They follow, they want to create with, build with, collaborate with, because energy itself will never lie. And you are energy, your emotions are energy. And your stuckness, whenever you feel stuck or heavy, that's all just energy that's wanting to move. And the more you understand and honor that, the more you become a conscious creator of your life. So take a second and ask yourself, what energy are you vibrating in today? And what's one tiny little shift that you can make to vibrate at a more intentional energy, at a higher frequency? All right, sweet friends, I hope you found this really helpful. And if you did, please share this with a friend. And of course, I would love for you to leave us a review, to rate this podcast episode and leave a review. That's how other people find us. That's how the algorithm works. All right, sweet friends, I'll see you next week. Adios.